You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today we have another special guest. We have the one and only Ms. Julie Carlisle. She is certified transformational life coach and also an investigating health practitioner. And I just want to say, first of all, I'm excited to talk about today because today we're going to have a topic of 3 natural ways to improve mental focus. And I think especially with what we have been going through in today's times, that is very important. So I just want to welcome Ms. Julie to the show and say, how you doing?
Well, hi, Shamaya. Thanks for having me. I just love your show. I just think it's so laid back and just such good topics that you talk about, just life in general, right?
Exactly. And before we jump into today's topic, let's learn a little bit about you. I gave a little nice teaser of you being certified transformational life coach and also a health practitioner. Tell us a little bit more about you.
About me, Shamaya, I'm very spiritual and I have been forever. It's just who I am. I've had quite a healing journey. And so I got into energy medicine and I've been doing that for 2 decades now. I know that makes me sound like that ages me, but I love it. And I bring a lot of spiritual into that. And I love helping people to feel better. And I started a modality that I just started doing it over Zoom in November because I felt like it's something I had done for so long. And then, that voice inside of us told me, you need to share this. And so I've been doing that over Zoom. You can do it in your own living room. And it's more of a therapy. And it's very spiritual and it's on a rebounder. And I call it Rebound Our Health.
And for someone who is new to this, when you say rebound our health, what does that exactly mean?
So that means we do this on a rebounder, which is like a mini trampoline. And instead of the springy springs, it's made with like bungee cords. So it's very smooth and it's very low impact. And so anyone can do this. And the benefits of rebounding have been scientifically proven to improve your bone density, and it'll drain your lymph, which your lymph is your garbage system, right? And so we don't want that collecting in our bodies because that can really make us sick. And the only way that will move is by movement. And rebounding has shown to move that in 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes of bouncing will move all of that lymph out of your system. So it's really good for those who have joint problems like osteoporosis, for instance, where you can't do things on the floor and it hurts to do those things. And so as you get on this rebounder, it's really low impact. And I bring a lot of my energy medicine into this. And we're bringing in good energy and we're moving out bad energy. We do a lot of mental things on this as well, where we're bringing out energies to movement, certain movements. We're bringing that energy out and we're releasing it. And then we're replacing that with good energy and good positive intentions.
And speaking of positive intentions, in today's topic, 3 natural ways to improve mental focus, especially, it can be any time that we're in, but especially what's going on in today's world. Having focus is very important, but also having a good mental mind state, having that mindset for you to have that clarity and be able to go to your day-to-day tasks without having all this toxic energy and just negative attitude is very important, especially those who are trying to move up in the world in their professional career or their business. Why is it so important to have a healthy mindset?
Oh, Shamaya, wonderful question. Our mindset brings our results. Everything we want in life comes from the way we're thinking, right? And that result, I call it the results formula, because the thoughts that you're having are going to cause you to act a certain way, and they cause those emotions. And so the way that you're acting is the results you're bringing to your life. So if you want to know what you're thinking, then you just look at your results and you'll see what you're thinking. And you might need to change some ways that you're thinking and some stories. And and I want to share with you 3 ways that you can improve your mental focus, okay? Not just your thoughts, but that mental state that you're in. And I love that you brought up, our society right now. There's some really toxic things out there. And I think we all have a stress bucket. And when that stress bucket is full, that's when disease comes in and we don't feel good. So it's so important to keep that bucket from filling up and keep it emptied.
And that is key, because anything can come into your life and it's up to you to deal with it versus, I'm just going to push it off and see what happens. When you have that strategy, because that's where you come into play, being a life coach, when you have that strategy to deal with life situations, unexpected traffic or just anything, what are some of the steps that people have to take when they are improving their mental focus?
Okay, so let's start with step number 1. So you really need to identify your coping mechanisms. How are you coping with that stress? What are you doing to cope with that stress? Are they healthy or are they unhealthy? And you know what? The biggest things I get as I coach, the things people are using are a lot of coffee or caffeine, right? Energy drinks type of things, and a lot of sugar. I think way too much sugar. And the problem with these things are not in and of themselves, but just that we're doing them too much to cope. And they're false energy sources. They may give us a little bit of energy. We have this burst of energy, but then, you really come down. And then what do you do? Then you need more. And these things really do deplete our body. And so there are some natural ways that we can get that energy. And I know a lot of people are trying to cut back on the coffee a little bit and do some things. I think they call it chaffee, but Creole brew is what I use, Creole brew. And it's a kind of cacao. And it's just like the coffee bean, but it's the cacao bean they take and they grind that up. And it's delicious. And it actually has a lot of antioxidants in you. And it gives you that energy throughout the day. So not just one burst and then you're tired again, but it gives you a lot of energy.
Once again, you listen to I'm Refocused Radio. We are talking to Ms. Julie Carlisle, certified transformational life coach.
Let me give you a couple more things you can do for that coping mechanism, that energy throughout the day as well. It's just so important to be hydrated. And if you can just drink water as much as possible and put a little lemon in it, then you're also getting some nutrients from that lemon actually in that water. So making sure you're hydrated and that you are drinking from a good source and making sure that your body is taking that water in is important. With my clients, I teach them how to qi their water. I know that sounds really weird, but qi comes from qigong and it's energy. And we actually take our water and we put energy in it by taking our hands, both hands, and just pushing that into, because energy is all around us. And if we put that energy into our water, it will help us. It'll take out a lot of the impurities and it'll help you to get it in your system. I found that out the hard way because I was thirsty all the time and my body just wasn't hydrating. So try that. You'll love it. It helps so much. And if you can't feel the energy, because I know as people that have been doing it, we can feel it when that's done. It just feels heavy, like you can't push any more energy into it. But if you can't feel that, just do it for about 3 minutes is all it takes. And you'll love it.
And with those steps, with water and how you cope with things, because I like the point about coffee. Coffee is like your best friend sometimes, but sometimes having too much sugar is not that healthy for you. And that makes sense to do things naturally versus, trying to find all these different, I guess you can say, shortcuts. And are they shortcuts or are they just mismanaged?
Everything in moderation, right? I mean, none of us is going to be perfect, I mean, cup of coffee in the day. Some people say it's healthy. So, if you believe that and, have your cup of coffee, but don't drink it all day, right? So everything in moderation. And yeah, just notice what you're noticing and see how you're coping and make sure you're coping in healthy ways. Like, instead of sitting down and having that quick sugary snack because you're stressed. How many of us eat when we're stressed, right?
All the time.
So, yeah. So the biggest, easiest way to do that is to really have those healthy options available. Make sure you've got the carrot and celery sticks in the refrigerator cut up beforehand. Make sure that apple is right there. And a lot of us, I don't even think we think about it. It's just we grab that, whatever it is for you, that cookie, it's cookies for me. Okay. I know I had to learn that grandma's cookies meant I was loved. And there was an emotion that I attached to that cookie, right? And so for me to grab that cookie meant so many things than just a cookie and sugar. It was a lot of emotions attached to that. So I really had to learn to release those emotions from that cookie and know that my body this is not good for my body. You need to eat that apple instead.
What are some of the steps that people can take in the professional world when they're actually dealing with stress on the job, whether it's their business or if it's inside the career? What are some of the steps that they can take?
So Shemaya, that brings us into step number 2. And before I head on to step number 2, I wanted to mention raw almonds, because raw almonds are one of my favorite snacks, because just eating a dozen raw almonds will bring your blood sugar down. So if you do find that you grabbed that sugary snack and you're like, oh, dang it, why did I do that? Grab some raw almonds and they bring your blood sugar down. Really good before you go to bed. They'll help you sleep, because, if you had something sugary before bed, usually, well, mom said don't drink chocolate milk or have sugar because it would give you nightmares, but, you will not sleep very well. So grab some raw almonds and that will help you to sleep. Okay. So, you mentioned for those who are at, they're working and just pretty much busy all the time, right? What can you do to de-stress? So number 2 is to, take an intentional mental break. Okay. I call this a brain recess. Your brain is working overtime, whether you are even knowing it or not. I mean, right. Our whole environment, all the stress around us, we're always in fight or flight mode constantly. And so we always have a lot of stress, but taking a mental brain recess will actually help you to recharge, and it prevents mindless distractions and it helps you to be more productive. Our brains really crave a recess and they need this reset by doing something different. So I love Einstein, and I love that he was so brilliant. And, he had stress, right? And I love how he would get into one of his problems. And if he couldn't solve that problem, he had a rule. And his rule was he had to get away from it and not think about it at all. He couldn't think about it at all. So the 2 things he would do is he would play his violin or he would go out for a walk. And he said every time he did that, it would just come. But he had to, not think about that problem.
And that's interesting because I like the point you made about brain recess, because it's almost like when you were younger, elementary school, we always had recess after lunch. We didn't go straight back to the classroom. And it's like, that's very interesting, because it's like, back in the day, it's like burning all that energy that you have from that pizza or whatever. But it makes sense going back to what we're talking about right now, having that ability to say, okay, it's time to take a break from this work stuff. Let me take my mind off of that real quick and let me put on something else. It's almost like a breathing thing. So now you're able to go back and do your task without all this built up pressure and pent up I guess you can say, frustration, versus you can do something else that can kind of take your focus into a different direction. So that way you can breathe again, if I can say that.
Yes, exactly. And that's the perfect mental break to take. Take a mental break and do some breathing, do some meditation. Back in Einstein's day, he didn't have a phone that he could grab and play games on. But, that's not something you want to be doing in your mental recess. You really want to, when we were kids, like you said, we got outside and got fresh air and we played outside, and that was a perfect reset for our brain. And, they know that at school, they know that we need to take that little break. So yes, perfect.
Once again, you've been listening to I Am Refocused Radio. We've been talking to Julie Carlisle, certified transformational life coach, and she's talking about today 3 natural ways to improve mental focus. And improve means that once upon a time, it wasn't that bad. And it's not that is exactly the individual's fault. It's just that life happens and we get distracted and we don't know how to deal with frustrations or pressure. Was some better, healthier ways to deal with pressure? Because pressure is always around, whether it's due date for assignment or if it's just you got family duties, you got friend duties, you get all these things pulling you throughout the week. And yes, you do have to have time management, but what's some better ways to deal with that?
So, and these 3 ways I'm telling you will deal with that, all the pressure, all that, that's the fight or flight. It's that pressure, it's that anxiety that we get just living in our world, right? And so, if we'll put the good things in our body, first of all, and not the things that will just give us that quick little pick me up, but something that's going to support us throughout the day, those good foods, healthy foods. And then if we'll take that little mental break and reset that and have that little recess, then that will help all the pressures you're feeling. And then the third one really is to focus on us, focus on taking care of you. Okay, I know you've got this pressure and you're taking care of everybody else and everything else, but what about you? You're going to burn out. So we really need to do some things to take care of us. What are some things you do, Shemaya, to take care of you?
Man, that's a great question. And I would say the main thing I do is I just appreciate things, because a lot of times you can get so caught up in just the busyness of life where it becomes non-productive. You're just saying, oh, I'm busy. Oh, I'm busy. But are you really productive though? Because if you only focus on trying to make your goals, but you don't take the time to appreciate what you have already done and just appreciate the simple things in life, it's really easy to just be an unending race, if that makes sense. It's easy to brag about your accomplishments, but how many times do we actually take the time to appreciate how far we have come? And that can help us kind of like what you've been talking about, reset mentally. Because if you're constantly on the go, trying to get the next goal, trying to get the next achievement, you can miss a lot of opportunities to just kind of reflect.
That is so brilliant. Yes. Yes. How many of us really do sit back and look at last year and how far did you come? I think we focus a lot on the negative. And like you said, we run around like a chicken with its head that's been cut off, and we don't, we aren't getting anything done. We're just busy. Yeah. So good. So for sure. And also, I think in my self-care, I have a routine. It's not a huge routine, but, it helps me start my day out right. And so I do a morning routine, and I start with gratitude, and I have a gratitude journal. And then I read my scriptures and I pray. And that's where I set my intention for that day. Like, and not necessarily goals, but necessarily what I'm going to be. Who am I going to be for that day?
I like that. That's a very important point. Who am I? What am I? What am I going to do? Because until you can answer that, you will always wonder. You will never have a target to hit. You will have a ton of targets in front of you, but you will never choose one because you have to actually make a choice. Who am I? And that's why the show, Refocused Radio, is finding your purpose, because once you find your purpose, you're living your best life because you know who you are. A lot of the troubles, and I'm not saying this because I'm certified to say it, disclaimer, but I feel a lot of troubles is because we don't know who we are, because we haven't took the time enough to explore who we are. So that way we can find, I love sports. I should be an athlete. Oh, I love music. I should be, a singer. Oh, I love, medicine. I should be a doctor. And that's just part one, though. The next part is being committed to what you have chosen, because it's easy to lose sight of what your vision is when you only see the under construction mode. See, everyone wants to see the results, but not everyone wants to build through the process because it's ugly. It's not easy. It's the opposite of easy. But when you're committed to something, now you have a story and a journey that you can share with others as they can help inspire you with their own journey. Because that's what it is. We're not an island. We have to be a part of our community. We have to be a part of like what you're doing with me, having a dialogue, because that's what allows us to confirm who we are and also motivate us to step back up into our path so that way we don't quit on our journey.
Shamaya, you just said step number 4 of mental focus, right? I love that. Yeah, our purpose is so important. And it comes from our heart. Those things like, I'm a healer. It comes from my heart. And listen to your heart. Your heart will tell you, because your heart knows who you are and what you love. And your higher self or your God, whatever that is for you, the universe, that's who puts that there. And so I think that as we listen to what's in our heart, then we know what we love, and that's our purpose, and that's our why. And that's how we can be resilient, and how we do, like you said, the ugly. That's how we do the uglies, because, that's who we are.
And what I've learned throughout time, I guess you can say, is that sometimes ugliness is just life keeping it real with you. And we're in a world where it's all about filters and it's all about likes and retweets and follows. But what about the real? Like, realness is basically boom, is right there in your face. There's no way you can put a filter on this to make it look better. No, this is what it is. And this is what you got to work with. This is what's on your plate. This is the cards that you're dealt. You can't just change hands and say, oh, if I just had this life that so-and-so had, I'll be happy. If I had this amount of money in my bank, I'll be happier. If I had this, well, what about you though? Because going back to what you're talking about with stepping number 4, the purpose part, knowing what your heart is telling you. If you want to know what your heart is telling you, you got to listen. Sometimes we are not listening and observing what's going on.
It's absolutely true. I know I have a friend who lives here in my town. He is deaf, and he wanted to play football. And they told him, you can't play football because you can't hear, you're deaf, And he's got a whole story about going through grade school. He's an amazing person. But, he played football, and he learned to play football by watching the ball. And he came to find out that when they were hiking the ball, he would notice that all of the players were distracted. And he finally realized, like, oh my goodness, they're distracted because they're listening to the crowd. They can hear the crowd and they're distracted, but he wasn't, because he couldn't hear the crowd. And so his message was that we need to stop and listen, and not listen to all the noise around us. We need to really listen. And I think that's what you're trying to say, is we need to listen to what our heart is telling us so that we can know where we need to go. And, you know, those things happen in life, but we get to choose how we react to those things. We get to choose that. And I call it a beautiful state. Because if you're in a suffering state, if you let those things affect you, and I call it a suffering state when you're feeling frustrated and depressed and anxious, you're in a suffering state. And nothing can come of a suffering state because you can't hear those things when you're in that suffering state. So you've got to get out of that suffering state by seeing the good around you, having gratitude, saying a prayer. And as you get in that beautiful state, that is where the miracles happen. It's in the beautiful state.
I like all that you just said. I just had a picture in my mind, like grab and release. Like a lot of times we just grab a lot during our lifetime, and it's just like just nothing but weight. It's just wearing us down. Sometimes it's time for us to release, let go. And I think it's some scripture in the Bible that touches on that, you know, forget the things that are behind, reach for things that are ahead. That's that's something that we have to all do on our life's journey. We sometimes got to leave some things behind, reach for new opportunities ahead. And sometimes new opportunity just means more work. It's not what we think it might be, like success in the microwave where it just falls in our lap. And you just wake up and you get to enjoy it. A lot of success is just hard work, but also working smarter than you used to.
Yes. Yep. And choosing that I choose to move forward. I have this vision. I have this why, and I am going to choose to move forward. And, you know, just by doing these little things that I suggest can really help you to tweak that and to move forward and to be in that beautiful state and, you know, make your life, create what you love.
Once again, you've been listening to Honorary Focus Radio. We've been talking to our special guest, Julie Carlisle. You go to our website, juliecarlisle.com. And today's topic, we've been talking about 3 natural ways to improve mental focus. I mean, we've been talking about eating healthier, natural food, taking mental breaks, brain recess, focus on you, not being selfish, but just focus on giving your time to have the opportunity to have the spotlight because, you know, we give it to everybody else. You deserve it too. And also knowing your purpose. Listen to that heart and what it's saying to you. Before we let you go, Julie, you as a life coach, you've probably coached so many different people from so many different backgrounds of life, from different levels. What are some of the most inspiring things that you've been able to learn from people as they have joined you in the process of improving their mental focus?
So, you know, my coaching is really on health and well-being. And, you know, I just love seeing that transformation happen. You know, I have one of my clients that she's released 100 pounds and she's never been able to do that before. But because she has changed some of the things she's thinking and doing and being, you know, that release it or that weight just melts. And that happened to me as well. And so I just love seeing people make that transformation and they learn a new set of tools for success and they use them over and over. And I do want to invite everyone to join my Rebound Our Health class. All you got to do is go to that website, juliecarlisle.com, and you just put your name and email in there, and I will send you the links to this Zoom that we do every morning at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. And then if you can't make it, I do provide the recordings so that you can start now and start moving your lymph and emptying that stress bucket.
I like that. And I like the fact that you have a calmness too when you are talking. I can tell you really care about what you do. And if someone is looking to take that next step to the next level of their life and success and clarity and boost of confidence and healthy lifestyle, how can they contact you? And if they have any questions about your courses, how can they do that?
So my website has everything there. You know, you can join my Facebook group, my Instagram group. You can contact me through that. Yeah, everything's in the website. So
once again, you've been listening to Iron Refocus Radio. Make sure you go to her website, juliecarlisle.com. and just check out all the resources she has. She doesn't just have courses. She has, like she says, she has groups, all these communities that can help you be inspired and keep you on track. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you, Julie, for taking time in your schedule talking to I Am Refocused Radio today.
It was my privilege. Thanks so much.
I Am Refocused Radio is brought to you by Foo 4-Star and Holy Crab. Foo 4-Star is a family-owned Asian restaurant in San Antonio, Texas. We have been a local favorite for Asian cuisine for over 10 years. With nothing but full smiles and fast service, you'll be leaving satisfied. Come on in for some authentic Vietnamese food. Holy Crab is one-of-a-kind Cajun Creole-style seafood restaurant located in Universal City, Texas. We offer traditional seafood items as well as chicken and steak. We also offer seafood boils. Come give us a try. You won't be disappointed. You can find these two eateries in Universal City, Texas at 2921 Pat Booker Road.